Welcome to the Workforce Wire podcast, brought to you by Employ Prince George's, bridging the gap between job seekers and businesses. And now, here's your host, Walter Simmons.
Welcome to the Workforce Wire podcast. This is Walter Simmons, your host, President and CEO of Employ Prince George's. Today is going to be a day where we talk about what everyone is talking about. We're discussing racism in the workplace. Should it be discussed? How should it be discussed? Is it being discussed? And we have some great panelists that are going to talk through their perspectives on this. We have Max Douge, business and employment consultant for Workforce Services in Frederick County. We have our producer, Doug Foresta, the director of podcast services and communications at Workforce 180. And a good friend of mine, Matthew Anselmo, a tour guide for Palmetto Carriage Work. Shout out South Carolina. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
So I'm going to go first. Being a workforce development podcast, please tell me how you got to your current position and what led you to that career. Just let our listeners know who you are. Max, I'm going to throw it to you first.
Sure. Thank you. First of all, appreciate being on with you and the rest of your guests. I've been in Maryland now for 14 years, and I've been with Frederick County for the past 11 and a half years working with the Workforce Services, which is part of the County of Frederick. I work closely with the business community to assist them with their workforce needs, which could entail anything from hiring, recruitment, a focused recruitment, I guess, to assisting them with job fairs and even training, providing some training around the elevation of their workforce to improve. So there's a number of different areas that we touch. Prior to that, I worked for a couple of years at the University of Baltimore as their internship coordinator for the Career Center. And prior to that, I spent 11 years working for a national nonprofit called Inroads, in which we placed students of color in particular, Black, Hispanic, Native American students into corporate internship opportunities. And it was a very cool organization and process in that we really started working with students as young as high school seniors and then continued working with them throughout their college years with the goal of helping them get placed full-time into their corporate sponsors. And so it was there that I started with workforce development, and it's been a heck of a journey over the past 20 plus years, and one that I definitely enjoy and appreciate.
Awesome. Matthew, tell us how you became to being a tour guide at Palmetto Carriage Works.
So I initially started my college career off looking to be a professor, academia. I loved history. I loved teaching, loved people, developing relationships. And then I started realizing that teaching may not actually be for me. So I moved myself to the public sector of history. And I decided that I can give a little bit of a history lesson to people while also using, some of the things that I've been given, my ability to talk to people and tell a story. So I honestly was able to combine the best of both worlds. I've been in the service industry pretty much my entire life, and everything kind of brought me to this point right here, to where I get to do what I love and what I've researched while also, providing a little bit of entertainment along the way. And a little short and sweet, but yeah, that's basically how I got here. I've been doing it for about 6 years now, and allows me to have deep, meaningful conversations and connections with people while also doing what I like. So,
awesome. We're going to circle back to that. Doug, tell us how you became the director of podcast services and communications at Workforce 180.
Sure. So, I actually, by training, I'm a licensed therapist, and a lot of my background is in public sector and child welfare. And I started doing podcasting for myself over a decade ago. because I wanted to do it for myself. And then other people started asking me about, how did you do that? I started helping them, and then I started helping other nonprofits and social service agencies. And then one day I met Mike Fazio, our CEO, at a speakers event, and the rest is history.
Awesome. Awesome. So to our listeners out there, as we talk about changes in workforce development, one thing you can consistently hear at the start of every show is that almost every guest on here has had multiple transitions in their careers. Some people have total 365s. So you really have to encourage people to try different things until they can find what's the best fit for them. We can't put people into a box. Life changes, people change, and so will their career. So just keep that in mind. Now, today we are discussing the discussion of racism in the workplace. This was started really by the death of George Floyd. George Floyd's death and being murdered reinvigorated the pulsating Black Lives Matter movement, and it really catapulted discussions on racism to the news, to people's social media, even to discussions inside their household. And now we're going to talk about how is it discussed in the workplace. But before we get into that, I really want to ask my panelists, how did the death of George Floyd personally impact and affect you? Doug, let me know, how did it affect you?